So welcome back. This is our third episode of Mighty Are the Women Through the Decades. We have some amazing people today with us and joining us for the tens episode. So we're super excited. I'm going to have them introduce themselves first. So we'll have name, years played, and then what you're doing now. What's life like for you guys now? What are you doing? What are you up to?
I'm Whitney Jones. I played from 2011 to 14. I am currently on staff with the Dogs, and this will be my third season.
I'm Victoria Hayward. I also played with Whit from 2011 to 2014. I am currently in Orlando, Florida, and training for the 2020/2021 Olympic Games for Team Canada.
Hi guys, it's Ali Aguilar. I played from 2014 to 2017, so I played with Whit and Vic my freshman year. They were seniors, and then staying all of our years. But right now I'm playing for Team USA. We're doing the same thing as Vic, just training and getting ready for the 2021 Olympics.
Hi, it's Casey. Typically go by staying in this program, but I played from 2015 to 17 and played with Allie, but got to live with Vic, so that was exciting. And I currently work for the Vanderbilt University baseball team in Nashville.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with our first question. How has becoming successful under pressure helped you in other areas of your life today?
ESUP has definitely played a role in my life from just the perspective of like just being in the moment, but also breathing and taking things one thing at a time, but also controlling the controllables. And I think this time period we're all in right now, there's so much we can't control. And so leaning on those experiences and like who you are foundationally, I think has been huge with like executing under pressure. Like I know who I am, I know what I can do, and I'm just going to be in the moment and do what I can.
Totally. ESUP for sure has not only like still in my softball life, but even just dealing with this pandemic right now. I feel like the things that are helping is just all the things we learned at Washington about your mental toughness and just like your ability to push through things and control like your perception and what it is. I think that in our program, we talk about how great we have it and how we're so lucky to be in these pressure moments and so grateful for these opportunities. And I'm so happy that we were like kind of raised in that kind of a thing, because I can look at this situation as crazy as it is and how it's like thrown my life for a loop and just be so grateful for my support system, just the ability to go play softball, and just all of my life experiences have totally prepared me to just take advantage of this time and like be able to conquer it more than I've kind of seen some people have. So I think just not only being able to execute under the pressure, but also like finding ways to kind of be peaceful and thrive in those moments.
Looking back when we were at Washington, like I don't think there was a day like we didn't feel like under pressure in a good way. Like we were always like had that high expectation, whether it was like the pre-practice meeting, you have to be like ready for the pop quiz or whatever it was, like, you know, the competitions at practice and things like that. And we were just always put in that pressure situation to when we played, like it was just easy, you know? And I see that I take all of that, just like Vic said, like into like playing for USA now or whatever pro team I play for. And it's just like knowing that you've been like put in the toughest situations and you're going to be able to like overcome whatever it is. And that obviously translates into life as well, being able to like control the controllables, like you said, Whit, and just like be adaptable and be able to just overcome the, you know, whatever pressure that you're going to be put in, whether it's life or the sport.
Just our time at Washington and showing up every day and practicing and training in a high pressure environment just allows you to be able to go out into your life, or, you know, for these to continue on and playing in high pressure moments or whatever you might be doing. For me, it's just in my everyday work, just knowing that, you know, you've worked under pressure and been able to succeed there. So it's just kind of becomes your new normal. And so you just learn how to not really worry about the stakes or not really worry about what's going on around you, but like controlling your controllables and just saying, okay, here's what I have in front of me. here's how I'm going to execute. And if something goes not according to plan, I think of like what Coach Tar says all the time: compensate and adjust. Just find a way to adjust and figure out what's happening in front of you. So yeah, it really has prepared me, you know, in my non-softball playing life to be able to handle things and be able to get through them well.
So my next question for Allie and Stang is, what do you believe the key to culture building is? And everyone's opinion can be different, but what do you guys think is the key to culture building?
Being on the same page, whether it's from the staff to, you know, the players throughout the program and, you know, the trainers and everything like that, like Coach Tarin, you know, is preached all the time, like being on the same page of the, you know, same letter on the same page. And like, I think that takes like communication, meeting together, bonding together, and different things like that. And then just the core values of whatever that program is, like really upholding those and holding each other accountable to those, but doing it with grace and with love. And I don't know, just, I would say staying on the same page and sticking to the core values of the culture that you're a part of.
I think when you look at your leaders, and to me, I think the biggest part is modeling the behaviors that you want to see out of the rest of your people. And that's, I think, where it starts, because everybody knows you can't just build culture in a day. I mean, it's hard to really establish it even in a season. You know, it's really consistency over time. So I think modeling the behaviors that you want to see in the people around you, and knowing that like what you allow is what's okay. So if you see somebody doing something that might not live up to your core values or standards, and you don't say anything about it or do anything about it, it lets the people around witnessing know that that's okay. And that is a part of whatever the culture is or the standard is. So if you're not willing to kind of take those moments and hold people accountable, then you're just allowing it into your culture. So I think it's something that just develops over time. And, you know, the more you can have leadership where you have consistent faces, like, you know, whoever your leader is, you know who you're going to get every single day. You're not worried like, oh, is Stang going to be in a good mood today? Or is she going to be mad about something that happened in class? Is she going to be tired? Is she going to be moody? Like, if you have people around you where you know how they're going to be and how they're going to show up, and you as a person and a part of that culture can show up every day and be consistent for the people around you, I think those are two like really big building blocks to start to see that consistency.
What is so cool about our culture at school is that it's bigger than any individuals. So when you come to school, your goal and your part is to contribute to the culture and help maintain the culture and grow the culture. But it was already there, and it's bigger than any one of us on this screen or any one player. And I think that that's what makes it so powerful, is it doesn't wane with different personalities or different, even like Coach Tar, like it encompasses our university. It encompasses so much stuff. And so I think that we've each had a part in helping create it. And so I think it's just so unique, and I've never been able to find a culture like quite like ours, which is pretty cool.
How has working with student athletes benefited your life? And is there anything noticeably different about your perspective now than versus the time that you were playing?
Definitely, I think as a player, kind of picking it back off Vic, you come into this program, and of course, everyone that comes to Washington is an amazing softball player, and everyone has aspirations to start every game, play all the time, and like win a national championship. Like, we wouldn't recruit you if that wasn't the type of player that's coming here. And so I think sometimes you can get caught in your own personal, like individual, like what I want for myself. And I think that's just human nature. Like, we're, as humans, we kind of sometimes selfishly think about what we want. And so I think from a coaching perspective, there's a lot of things that go into decisions that are made that a lot of, from the player perspective, you may not know or understand. And that's where trust between players, leaders, and coaches, I think, is huge. And you have to trust that the decisions that are being made for the best of the team, not necessarily the best per every individual. And a lot of times we like to think and see things from like our own individual perspective and what we want. But even when we know we want the team to win and we want what's best for the team, naturally we sometimes think about ourselves. And so I think being on the coaching side of things, there's discussions and back and forth and strategies that you have no idea about as a player. And so if I could like go back and think about my 18, 19, 20-year-old self, like, dude, the things you were thinking, the coaches aren't even thinking that stuff. Like, stop thinking those things, stop making things that don't even exist. And so I would just say, like, trust is a huge thing. And there's a reason why you're at the program you're at, and just trust that those that are in charge making the decisions are doing it for the best of the team. And so now, like, being a coach, it's interesting. So I did strength and conditioning for a couple of years, and you go from being served and like having everything to now you're the one serving people. And I know for me, I believe that's my calling and that's my purpose. And so I absolutely love being in the role I'm in. I love giving to people because that fulfills me and that makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose. But it's definitely the other end of the spectrum, but I love it and it's fulfilling. I mean, serving people is everything to me, and I love being able to do that as a coach. So
I think for me, like, the reason why I love working with student athletes is, like Whit was saying, like, being able to serve them and knowing that, like, you've been through all the things they're going through. And so just trying to help them and give them the tools to get through that same process and try and help them do it better or just get through it, whatever it might be. But it's just like such a special time in your life. And so having the opportunity to live like through your student athletes every single year and all their different situations is just such a gift. And it's true. I mean, we talked about how, you know, you're never going to work this hard for something with a group ever again in your life. Like, you'll never share that same common goal. And it's correct. Like, while I'm still in the same exact situation, I'm in a different role. And it's like, I am working as hard as I can for them, but it's not quite the same. Like, you're never going to quite understand how special it is until it's over. And so I think just trying to like help them understand that and help them stay in the moment. If it's not your day to be contributing in the way that you want to be contributing, find a new way to contribute. And I think that that's something that every student athlete could really benefit from hearing, because no matter what your role is, it's important. And I've learned a lot from this side to see the players that might not be starting every day, their role is invaluable to the team. And honestly, those are the people that can ruin what's happening in your culture as well. So I think that, you know, every player is important. And I think that it's a cool opportunity to help get student athletes get to know that.
I need to hear from Vic and Allie. This is a question for you guys. What are some differences between playing professionally and collegiately?
I think with playing collegiately, there was like this uniform sense of pride and preparation as a group. Like, we took pride in our preparation together, and there was just like that trust built because you had been through the grind, you had been through the 6 a.m.s, been through all that stuff like together, and facing adversity as a group on good days, bad days, seeing all sides of each other, all that stuff. I think that that's something that I really miss playing professionally, because it's so dependent on your culture. And some professional teams, it's just like, do your thing and that's cool and perform and that's awesome. And then some are able to create a really fun kind of welcoming culture, but then it may lack that awesome high performance aspect that we were able to get at Washington. And so I think just like, I've had both of those experiences. And then even now, I feel really lucky, like staying there was a time in my life where I was like, man, I'm never going to get that Washington feeling of people driven for the same goal and like just those butterflies and feeling like you're really doing something. And now with the Olympics, I feel like we do have that, but even then we don't get like the early mornings. We've had it for a little bit, but on the daily of just being together, sharing every part of your life together, being able to be friends and just go get food or just do stuff like that. And they're just your best friends. They're with you all the time. They're people. I think that that's definitely one of the parts that I miss most, and just is never really at the same level that you guys have now.
I would have to agree. It's like there's like, even with Team USA, we're on tour we were playing a bunch of colleges, and it was just like playing against them, like no matter what school it was, it's like you can't mimic that like pride that you take in like a unit, like coming together and their culture and things like that. And I think that it just naturally comes that way in the professional world. It's just, I don't know why, but it's the way it is. And it's more so like each person taking ownership of their own game. But I think that's something that you also have to learn to do going from college to professional. At least I felt, because going to Japan was a really big eye-opener for me, because these coaches are speaking different languages. And, you know, I had some Americans, but it was just completely different. I was looking around for people to give me a schedule of what to do. And it was like, I need to figure out how to take ownership of my game myself and know, like, this is how I prepare. This is how I'm going to be ready, and be confident in that, which was different than like, I felt like it was just always there and I can just be in that culture like in college. And so I'd say for me that was the biggest difference, is learning how to take ownership of my game for the team. In that sense, it's just a little different.
If you guys can remember one time you overcame adversity of any kind, whether it was a particular event, an incident, anything, a game, anytime you overcame adversity, what was it and how did it help you?
I came into Washington as a right-handed hitter, a pitcher, and outfielder. I'm lefty. And I kind of never, growing up, I would play around occasionally with like going to the left side, but I've never been a lefty growing up. And so we played around with it a little bit my freshman summer, like, hey, let's see what it, like maybe being a switch hitter and doing righty. And then occasionally, if it's not a good matchup, like let's go to the left side. Well, it kind of turned into like me playing around with it in the fall. And I was like, all right, we're going to roll with you being lefty. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so like went into my sophomore year feeling great, like, you know, worked hard over the summer, did all that. And I get in sophomore year, and it was probably one of the hardest seasons I've ever gone through. So I think that season I had like 9 pinch hit opportunities and I didn't get on base once. Like, and then pitching wise, I was kind of in a shift of like maybe not pitching anymore. And so it's just like not what I had pictured going into my sophomore year. And so of course, like, you have all these expectations, you think this is going to happen, and then it doesn't turn out how you want it to turn out. And so of course, after that season, I had to do a lot of reflection, like, hey, like what could have been better that season? You have your exit meeting with the coaches, and it's just, everything's out there. And so moving forward, it was like I learned a ton from a standpoint of maybe not softball. I learned a lot softball wise, but I learned a lot for myself as a person. And so I was able to connect with the community quite a bit that year. Washington's amazing. The people I was around were amazing. Life is bigger than softball. I'm like, dude, you had a season that didn't play out how you pictured it, but it's so much bigger than that. You know, it's so much bigger than the amount of at-bats you had. It's so much bigger than, you know, your batting average. It's so much bigger than everything that looks on paper, but you are serving a bigger purpose throughout that whole experience. And sometimes you have to go through things like that to learn lessons that are going to help you later on in life and help you throughout your career. That was like a turning point for me as a person for who I am today. And so just getting over that, moving forward, I didn't pitch. I became full lefty my junior, senior year. And they were the best 2 years I had at Washington. But I could have easily chose a different, you know, like made a bad decision and did something I probably would have regretted. And I'm just so happy that I like stuck with it, fought through it, and was able to do what I was able to do.
The most challenging thing I faced, I think, was actually after my time at Washington, which in 2015, I tore my ACL, and I'm like, why me? I've prepared, I've done all these things. Like, you just start to question, like, why things like this don't happen to me. I'd never had an injury in my life. I feel really lucky that my career at Washington went, I achieved the goals that I wanted to and had a great experience and all that. And then I think I was still really caught up in who I was as a University of Washington player. And I think that tearing my ACL and having to like really figure out who I was without school, figure out who I was as a softball player, being a professional and being a part of our national team program, like it kind of gave me an opportunity to step back and almost recreate my identity and be unapologetically me in a new way, and kind of like separate my time. And that year our team went on to win a Pan Am gold medal, which our team had never done. And I had to watch it from my couch. I think that was a huge wake up call for me, and like wanting to create my own future and wanting to like never miss out on an opportunity like that. So that fueled my work ethic, me wanting to be the person in the big moment, wanting to like be the best version of myself, to like never leave a stone unturned and never like feel like I missed out on anything again. So it was just a really cool opportunity to step back and miss out on some stuff, but also like put me in a way bigger place for what was to come in the future.
I would say like the biggest adversity that I faced was in Japan. Just being on my own, like I think I was a little naive to be like, you know, oh, I'm 22, like I'm gonna be fine in a different country. Like it's only 3 months at a time, and you know, like, but I would say that was like the biggest challenge. I was used to playing all the time, and I was only a DP, I was only hitting, and then my second year over there, I wasn't even playing. Like I was coming off the bench and sometimes getting pinch hits, and it was a whole new perspective for me. But in that moment, I had to decide, like, am I going to let this like limit me and be like, I think like I can't get past this. Like maybe this is my limit. Like I'm not going to be like as good of a hitter. Like I'm not succeeding. They're not putting me out there. Or I can choose to get better, find a way to like figure out my swing, my personality, and how like I can overcome this. And I think that I've taken that and been able to, you know, learn things about myself, whether it's, you know, just like not needing permission from other people to go out and compete and like take the opportunity, take the position, take, you know, what just small things that I think I saw when I was at Washington that Coach Tar and stuff like that saw in me. I kind of learned after being in Japan and going through that adversity there.
One thing that like a really big situation or period of time that I remember is our senior year, Allie and I senior year. And we had started the season so well. I think we had maybe only lost like 2 games and we were in Pac-12, and we had worked really hard in the fall and in the beginning of the spring to just try and have a really clean, open communication like throughout the team, and really working to like sustain Husky softball culture. And it was just a huge focus for us. And I think that group, like one thing we really prided ourselves in was like communicating openly. We felt like with that group, it was important because we had a lot of really strong personalities we worked really hard on and we were really intentional about. And then things started not going so well. I remember we lost 4 games in a row. I don't think we'd even lost 2 games before that. It just felt like things were like piling on top of us and like we couldn't do anything right. We couldn't score runs. We couldn't like string hits together. And everyone was so frustrated. I felt like we were taking it out on each other. But everyone like felt the frustration of it and felt so much pressure to try and make something happen or do something so that we could finally win a game. And it was just so frustrating because it's like we felt like we were getting better. We had like a group conversation just to try and like get things out before one of the games, and it just wasn't working. We all kind of put ourselves in a position of just saying like, you know, we need to stop pressing and stop trying to make something happen, stop trying to win. If things went wrong, we needed to pick each other up and say, it's okay, you didn't do it, but I'm going to do it. I just remember us kind of like coming to a place of like, we're in this together and we're not going to get frustrated at one another if things aren't going the way that we want them to. We're going to pick each other up and we're going to find a way to get through this together. And if it doesn't turn out the way we want it to, then so be it. But if we go down, like we're going to go down together. And so I just remember it being like a turning point in our season. It's not like one magical moment made us win that next game, but I feel like our mindset of our team just got so much tougher. And we're like, you know, we can go through like these highs and lows. We just like need to find a way to get back to the middle. Like, if we win big games, we need to get back to the middle. If we lose 5 games in a row, fine. Like we're going to find our way to get back. But throughout that season, like things, you know, we had some of those tough days, but I felt like we never went on like a losing streak like that again. Like it was a really good moment of adversity for us as a group to say like, you know, we don't want to do that again. And we didn't do it well the first time, but now we know how to get through rough patches. And I think specifically to like a game, it was our last conference game of the year against Utah. And it was the wildest comeback that I think I've ever seen. And we went down like 10 runs. We were about to be run rolled in the 5th. And then we like found a way to get out of the 5th and survive. And then we ended up like scoring little by little, but we were never like out of it. Like we went down. I think Allie hit a home run the first pitch of the game. So we were like, we like came out like, oh, this is gonna be a great game. And then we just got beat down for like 4 innings. And now we are finding ourselves later in the game and we can get through this. And it was a tough time, but like that toughness from the earlier part of the season kind of allowed us to even like focus it within one game to get through it. So I felt like it was a really good period of adversity for us as a group. We didn't let the fear of losing that next game overwhelm us. We were just focused on like taking it moment by moment and staying in it together. So that was a really cool experience that year.
What is your favorite memory or moment in a UW uniform?
It has to be playing in the College World Series. I mean, there's nothing, you can't describe that feeling of playing in the Women's College World Series. So, and then coming back as a coach and coaching in the Women's College World Series, it's a whole different dynamic, but it's so special. It's so rare, but it's such a fulfilling thing to achieve. And I know we like expect to be there every year, but we know it's never guaranteed. And so just the journey to getting there and then getting there is definitely my favorite memory.
Yeah, I think I blacked out that entire week that we were there because every moment was the coolest moment ever of like, dude, we did like, and now that I've rewatched it, like it was on Facebook Live and just seeing the moments, like Coach Tar calling a squeeze with the game on the line in the World Series and me looking at her and be like, we're doing this. Like, this is like, we've literally practiced this for this moment and it's happening. And just like all those butterflies in those moments. But I think my favorite moment was just getting the opportunity to go fight back against Missouri after losing to them in 2011 in Super Regionals. And just Chelsea Thomas was unreal. She was so good. And she humbled our team. And I mean, we were just like little young pups at that point. But I think just knowing how we had been really humbled and then having like our comeback opportunity and just our unfinished business and that being our like driving force and just as upperclassmen now having the opportunity to lead like in those moments, I think it was just really cool to see how much our team had grown and how much like Caitlin, Whit, me, like Bree, all those people that were not big people in the first time and now just being able to do what we had wanted to do for a few years. I think those are my favorite moments.
Mine's the World Series too, because our first 3 years we didn't get to go, and so like that final year getting to go was like the best. And then I thought about a random memory for some reason. My freshman year, like a more funny memory. Do you guys, Whit and Vic, remember when we were taking BP with our Mizuno bats in like the rain, and we had a really good BP session, and so we went to play at Stanford and JT starts dunking all of our bats in water? Do you remember that? and then like Kylie got this like dinky hit after that. I don't know, it was like just funny.
And I feel like that series was not going well for us because we had times in Stanford where it was not going well. So at that point it's like throw the water on the bats, like something's gotta happen.
So many memories.
I feel like the one that I just loved was when we won Supers to go to the World Series. And it's kind of like what Allie was saying. Like we hadn't been, I guess since you guys were playing, like we hadn't been back since you guys left. And so like it was such a goal for us to do that in our time there. Like I just remember that night and like that feeling, and obviously playing at the World Series is amazing. So like, yes, that is one of my favorite moments, but I just remember that night like so vividly and us doing it and it just feeling like the best feeling in the world. So I don't know. I just loved that game and that night. It was awesome.
I think to add one, knowing like all the little traditions that we have, like going into the locker room and being what we do in the locker room and then going out into our little circles and the things that we say. And then for us, I don't remember what year it was, but we decided to create our own. And then we started like when we were out on the line, we added on to Law of the Jungle and like started to add some stuff. And I think like to see parts of what you helped create live on, I think is really cool as an alumni to be able to come back and like remember us either learning that or figuring that out. Like those moments are just the coolest moments. It just connects you across like all these generations, which is so cool.
What is a little chunk of advice you'd give to your 20-year-old self?
My advice would definitely be spend more time with your teammates. That if I could go back and do that again, I would spend way more time with my teammates. Like we have such amazing people that are recruited into our program. So I would just say definitely there's some pretty special people to your left and your right that will have the same experience you shared for the rest of their lives. So
I think I would tell myself to just, the most cliche, just enjoy every moment. Like even the moments that are just seem like the worst in the moment, those are the things that you remember the most. And just to spend, I wish I spent more time. I learned this later in my career, just spending so much time at the field, just out with the music on and hitting, and just those moments are some of the moments that I cherish the most, of just like playing softball and sharing what we love in just a really light, fun environment, people being themselves. And I wish I had learned that earlier in my career, because there were so many awesome teammates that I didn't get to necessarily spend as much time with, kind of like what Whit's saying, but even more in a softball sense.
I would say the same thing as Whit. Like, I think it is a huge responsibility. Like, you know, we have the standard of going to class, like all these things. But I wish I would have like just laid back a little more and like enjoyed, been more present in everything, and especially in relationships with teammates and things like that. And just like enjoyed like the 4 years to the fullest, because I think it's easy to get forward thinking and like what's next and how are we going to get to Oklahoma, you know, the final thing, which is good, but like really taking in everything that like is in the moment, and to not overthink things and just like go for it. Like don't think about every possible scenario, like just go for it.
I feel like we're all going to just echo each other because it's so true. So it's like, listen, because it's so true. Like you're just going to miss. I mean, my advice is, yeah, just be present, because like you're going to miss every single moment of it. And I would say just like never feeling like frustrated with things you have to do. Not necessarily that I remember being super frustrated, but just like, oh, we have a conditioning test, or, oh, we have to go do this. We have to, like, those are get tos. And like, if I could go back and do any of that again, I would. Like the life you're living is just such a cool time in your life. You don't have to worry about things that you have to once you're done with school. Like all you're doing is playing a sport that you love and trying to get better and surrounding yourself with the most amazing people you're ever going to be around for the rest of your life. Take those moments. Don't try and hurry through them. Like go enjoy yourself. And yeah, that's what I got.
Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. It means so much. Like you gave us so many good nuggets about like different little things that I feel like could not only help the culture that we're building right now with the team, but also a lot of good advice to younger girls as well, because like overthinking is a big thing when you're playing a mind game pretty much. So I just want to say thank you so much.
You guys are so awesome. We appreciate you so much from the bottom of our hearts. You guys filled our buckets today for sure. All of you are so wise. Super thankful that we brought all of you on today. We appreciated that so much. So thank you for joining us this week on Mighty Are the Women Through the Decades.